Right, welcome back into our regulars now. Let's start with our question of the day.
Right, this is what we're asking you this morning, and this is, what do you make of the Competition Commission Tribunal entering into a settlement agreement of 42.7 million rand with Standard Chartered for the role the bank played in the manipulation of the rand? Remember, this is not the only bank that's been sort of fingered in this, and this, however, is the only bank that has agreed on the settlement. So, carry on. You were going to correct.
No, they're not the only bank. I think Citibank were the first to.
Citibank as well. Thank you.
And that was, I think, last year sometime, and then Standard Chartered now. But there are 28 banks that are involved in this that have been named, cited. So 2 of them have now come forward and say, okay, we're guilty, paid the fine.
Pay the fine and move away. But the others are not doing anything. And everyone looking at this and saying, 42.7 for that million? Wow, okay. Anyway, X at Morning Live SABC. Please write to us there. On Facebook, Morning Live SABC. And, of course, always your voice notes.
Indeed, looking forward to those. 078-459-1897 is, of course, the number that you could use to get in touch with us.
So, trending topics, that's where we move straight into. And Capit Tech is the one that's sort of sitting there. In fact, let me tell you, when we woke up this morning, obviously no one had found out that stage 4 was happening as yet. And when I open X at the moment, that is number 1, is stage 4. So, but we know what's going on, and that's why. But Capit Tech was right up there. And Capit Tech customers, they were, pumping out their chests and saying, hey, we were the only bank not implicated in this whole manipulation. And they were just pumping out memes and saying Capit Tech users, after finding out their bank isn't listed on the Rand manipulation saga. Another one saying, thank you, Capit Tech, for not being involved in the Rand manipulation scandal. Capit Tech is also the most innovative bank in South Africa, which thrived to change the perception of banking services. I think they're using this as a nice ad, and go for it. Go for it.
Exactly.
Use it.
Talk about free advertising.
Use it. Go mad.
But you gotta love South Africans, the social media period. Because they will say the funniest things. And imagine now being proud that your bank has not been listed.
Exactly.
And the list of banks that manipulated the currency. But hey, whatever to make people happy at this stage, go for it.
We'll take anything.
Go for it.
Anything, even if it is the fact that our bank is not accused of Rand manipulation. We are winning in life. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyway, that's why Capit Tech is trending.
Indeed. Right, the next one, Shamila Toye. And I must say, I tried to get through and see, is there any specific reason that this one suddenly popped up? And it seems nothing specific, at least not that I could pick up. But the fact that people are talking about the NPA that has just been dragging all sorts of cases and not really prosecuting at a pace that people are expecting.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm doing the same thing, having a look, but her name is right up there in trends, and I think it's just, exactly as you say, SK, it's just people, expressing their dissatisfaction at the workings of the NPA, and her name, of course, coming out tops there. Another one is Brian Molefe. And I mean, one would have thought actually that Marcelo Coco would be trending, but Brian Molefe is also up there. So it's just saying, people are talking about, remember that the court basically struck the Coco story, or the Eskom graft case, off the roll because it found that there were unreasonable delays. And that is a big issue. It really is.
And it does tie into the Shamila Toye trend. Because, again, some people are saying, well, one of the other problems with the NPA is that they actually enroll these cases and they haven't done the necessary spade work, with the result that at times they have to be struck off the roll.
Indeed, so it's just delay after delay after delay. So it's like, well,
exactly,
we've got no time for this, you're out. So that's a big problem. And then some saying, I mean, this is just one Twitter user saying, there was never a criminal case against Marcelo Coco, just as there's none against Brian Molefe. We told you that there's no crime called state capture in South Africa. State capture is a figment of people's imagination. That's just one of the lots of tweets out there. Well, X's, sorry.
Indeed.
For that trend.
So that takes care of Brian Molefe. And the final one is Tepinkosi Lorch, Orlando Pirates player. So I must admit that this one for me slipped under the radar because I do remember reading about Lorch's problems with law enforcement regarding an alleged assault. But it seems as though he has now admitted or there was some form of confession to the guilt. Yes. Please help me out here.
Sure. So,
and he has been handed a sentence.
Yeah, so the story is that he's been handed a 3-year direct imprisonment order, which has been suspended for 5 years and fined 100,000 rand for the assault of his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
So that was what was handed in, and the soccer star was also declared unfit to possess a firearm. So that was another story, and it just shows, and people are talking to this, saying, it shows you if you are connected to people who are connected to powerful politicians, you can get away with things, but not this time.
And that's part of the story that people are really unpacking, the fact that a firearm was used. And again, people saying Lady Justice has eyes. Because as you just said, if you were a poor person who did not have any connections to powerful people, would you have walked?
Indeed. And that's the story. So it's all out there, and that's the NPA have put that one out in terms of the findings and what the conviction actually is. So that's end of trends. So there we go. We'll leave it there for now. And of course, we've still got the front pages of the newspapers to get through, so that'll bring us even more up to speed with what's happening around the country.
Indeed. But of course, we've got some stories, that story that we read in the headlines about the Nelson Mandela Foundation and the German government. Those are some of the stories that we will also bring you before we get to the headlines.